The galaxy feared one woman, a warlord so deadly that entire star systems whisper her name in the dark. Inside a bar where assassins, monsters, and criminals bowed their heads in silence, no one dared challenge her rule. But everything changed the moment a lone human veteran walked in. No weapons, no backup, no fear, just a quiet voice, and the words that shook the universe. Hold my beer. What happened next became legend, a clash of strength, fire, and impossible courage that proved humans are far more terrifying than anyone ever believed. And tonight, you are about to witness the moment the galaxy learned why humanity survives everything. Watch till the end, because the story explodes with twists, power, and a truth the universe never saw coming. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another tale of human greatness in a dangerous cosmos. The neon lights of Station Barcos. 9 flickered like dying stars above the overcrowded docking bay. The air smelled of engine fuel, alien spices, and the kind of trouble that followed mercenaries like hungry shadows. Humans were rare here, respected by a few, feared by some, and underestimated by almost everyone. Tonight, that would change. The bar named the Fractured Fong sat at the edge of the station like a rusted beast, inhaling violence and exhaling chaos. Music shook the metal floor. Voices of dozens of species clashed like blades. A holographic sign buzzed above the entrance, warning newcomers. Enter at your own risk. The strong survive. Inside, the heat wrapped around the senses, thick and alive. Every breath tasted like smoke, blood, and something sweetly toxic. The lights were low, but the tension was bright. At the center of the chaos sat her. The reason no one dared disrespect the Fong. The reason no one raised their voice above a whisper. The reason even hardened assassins walked with lowered eyes. General Zarala Vex. The scariest alien woman in the spiral arm. Her skin was obsidian blue with glowing cracks like molten lava. 4 burning eyes watched everything from her massive throne chair built out of scrap and bones. Her braided hair shimmered like galaxy dust, and her voice, when she spoke, vibrated the glasses on the counter. She ruled this bar. She ruled this section of space. And she destroyed anyone who challenged her. Until tonight. Because tonight, a human walked in. His boots struck the metal floor one step at a time. Slow, confident, not a single hint of fear. His name was Derek Cole, former Earth Marine, veteran of 3 interstellar wars. A man who had seen planets burn, soldiers fall, and gods die. He carried no visible weapons. Only a long coat, worn boots, and a haunted calmness that made predators hesitate. The bar went silent. Claws froze midair. Tentacles paused mid-slither. Even the bar's automated turret tracked him, scanning for threat levels. Zarala slowly leaned forward, all 4 eyes narrowing. You are very bold to enter my territory, human. Derek stepped up to the counter, nodded to the bartender, and said with absolute calm, "Hold my beer." The entire bar froze, because no one in history had ever, even by accident, ignored Zarala before speaking to her. A slow, dangerous hum rumbled from her chest. The temperature in the bar climbed by several degrees. Cracks of heat formed on the floor beneath her feet. "You speak to the air before you speak to me?" she asked in a voice that shook the ceiling. Derek lifted the drink the bartender was too afraid to pour. He tasted it. He put it down gently. Then he looked at her with a 1,000-yard stare carved from loss, pain, and something far deeper. "No," he said. "I am speaking to everyone." He turned, raised his voice, and declared, "I am here to challenge the one who claims to be the strongest in this bar." Gasps erupted. Creatures backed away. Weapons came out. Everyone expected him to die within seconds. Zarala rose from her throne. The floor cracked under her weight. Lightning-like energy danced across her arms. "You challenge me, human?" He stared right back, unblinking. "I challenge your throne, your power, your fear." The heat of her aura slammed into him like a star exploding. The air distorted. The walls trembled. Several aliens dropped to their knees, overwhelmed. But Derek did not move. He had faced worse. He had faced the whispering horrors of the Orion Rift. He had walked through the firestorms of Helion, 6. He had survived the Ghost War in the Silent Nebula. Zarala narrowed her eyes. You refuse to kneel. You refuse to sweat. You refuse to tremble. Derek answered with a faint smile. You refuse to intimidate me. The bar shook with a roar of disbelief. Zarala stepped off her throne, towering over him by several feet. Her shadow covered him completely. You humans, she growled. You break rules. You defy logic. You survive what kills civilizations. Derek's voice was steady. And you fear that. For the first time in many years, Zarala's expression shifted. Not anger, not rage, but something far more dangerous. Curiosity. She leaned closer, her 4 eyes glowing inches from his face. Very well, human. Show me why your species is still alive. Derek lifted his drink. Gladly. And the bar erupted into chaos. The first strike came from behind him, claws, poison, and plasma. Not from Zarala, from her followers. Derek turned with movements like flowing steel. Every sense sharpened, every instinct awakened. The air sang, and the veteran unleashed the combat reflexes that made humans legendary. One alien flew across the bar. Another crashed through a table. A third screamed as Derek twisted its weapon away and used against them. The room became a storm of violence. Zarala watched silently. Her eyes glowed brighter with every human victory. The bodies of alien mercenaries hit, the floor one after another. Tables splintered. Glass rained down like falling stars. The air filled with smoke, sparks, and the metallic taste of adrenaline. Derek Cole moved through the chaos like a man who had fought death too many times to fear it anymore. Every punch struck with bone-breaking precision. Every dodge carried millimeters of survival instinct. Every motion whispered the truth that no alien in that bar understood until tonight. Humans did not fight to win. Humans fought to survive, and that made them terrifying. A 6-armed Gorthian lunged from Derek's left, swinging blades coated with paralytic venom. The creature roared so loud the ceiling dust fell. Derek stepped under the first arm. He caught the second. He wrenched the third. And in one brutal motion, he slammed the massive alien over his shoulder, shattering the floor beneath them. The crowd gasped. Even Zarala's upper eyes widened. 2 more attackers charged, a towering grackle brute and a slender, fanged Gyrac sniper. They attacked together, one with brute force, one with precision. The floor shook with their approach. The grackle's steel-coated fist swung toward Derek's head with the weight of a meteor. Derek caught it with both hands. The shock wave rippled across the room. The Gyrac aimed a plasma stinger at Derek's heart. He twisted the grackle, using the brute's massive frame as a shield. The shot burned a hole through the creature's armor. The grackle collapsed, twitching. Derek rose, breath steady, pulse controlled, eyes cold. Zarala watched the carnage unfold with an intensity that electrified the room. Her aura flared hotter, reacting unconsciously to the battle, as if tasting something she had not felt in years. Anticipation. More mercenaries surrounded Derek. 10 of them, all armed, all terrified. One hissed, "Human, surrender before she destroys you." Derek stepped forward, cracking his knuckles. No. He grabbed the nearest attacker by the throat, slammed him into another, and used the combined momentum to knock out a third. Human strength against alien biology, flesh against steel, instinct against training. The room became a whirlwind of fists, claws, screams, and metal scraping against metal. Before long, every attacker lay groaning on the floor or hung unconscious over shattered furniture. Smoke drifted from scorched walls. Tables lay in pieces. The music system sparked, slowly dying, and in the middle of the wreckage stood Derek Cole, tired, bleeding, bruised, but very much alive. He wiped blood from his lip. He looked at Zarala. The entire bar held its breath. Zarala stepped forward at last. Her 4 eyes glowed in a spectrum of violet fire. Her aura dripped power like molten metal. Each step she took sent vibrations through the floor. Derek braced himself. This was no mercenary. This was a living weapon. Her voice rolled like a thunderstorm. You fought my soldiers with bare hands. You fought with precision. You fought with instinct. You fought without fear. Her lower eyes narrowed, assessing him from boots to brow. "But I did not summon the weak to test you." Derek rolled his shoulders, ignoring the pain. "No, but they tried anyway." Her lips curled into a grin full of teeth sharp enough to carve metal. "And yet you still stand." She paused, tasting the moment. Then she said the words that made every creature in the room flinch. "You impress me, human." A ripple of shock tore through the bar. Zarala Vex did not praise anyone. Not rulers. Not killers. Not gods. She motioned to the remains of her soldiers. "And you survived what should have killed you. Most species would tremble. Most would crawl." Derek took a long breath. His lungs burned. His knuckles throbbed, but his voice remained steady. "I am not most species." Zarala stepped in close, shadows and aura swirling around her like a storm of living fire. She circled him slowly, studying him like an ancient predator evaluating prey that somehow did not break. "You humans," she said softly, "are contradictions." She leaned close to his left ear. "You break. You bleed. Your bones snap. Your flesh tears." Her breath was hot enough to blister skin. "And yet, you return. You rebuild. You rise again." Derek did not flinch. Instead, he looked her dead in the eyes. "All four of them. That is why you fear us." The room went silent. Zarala's smile faded. Her aura pulsed. And then she laughed. A deep, powerful, echoing laugh that shook dust in the rafters. "Fear? Human, I do not fear you." She placed one massive hand on his chest, her claws grazing fabric, but not skin. "I respect you." The crowd murmured. Fear grew, because Zarala Vex respecting someone meant something far more dangerous than hatred. Her voice dropped. "Do you know why I rule this bar?" Derek answered without hesitation. "Because no one can defeat you." Her eyes gleamed. "Not only that, I rule it because I understand power. Real power. Not strength. Not size. Not threats." She leaned closer. "Power is the one who refuses to kneel when the galaxy tries to break them." Derek exhaled slowly. "That sounds familiar." Zarala's grin sharpened. "You think you and I are the same? A human and a war-born empress." Derek shrugged. "I think pain shapes people. And you look like someone shaped by more battles than I can count." Her eyes flared. "You are observant." She dragged her claw across the floor. The metal sizzled and melted. "Pain forged me. Pain crowned me. Pain taught me to survive worlds that devour entire armies." She stepped back, raising one hand. "And now, human, you face me." Derek's muscles tightened. His heart thudded once, hard. This was a fight everyone expected. Human versus alien war goddess. Strength versus strength. But Zarala lifted her hand. "Not yet." The crowd gasped. Derek frowned. "I thought this was the part where you try to kill me." Zarala's voice softened into something more dangerous than a roar. "No, I already know how to kill you." She pointed at the defeated mercenaries scattered across the bar. "But I do not know how to defeat you." Derek's breath caught. "What is the difference?" She walked slowly back to her throne. Her aura dimmed. Her posture shifted from warrior to ruler. To kill someone is simple. To break a body. To tear flesh. To end life. That is easy. She sat down. But to defeat someone like you, human, someone who refuses to die, that is a different challenge. Derek stepped forward, unsure where this was going. "So, what do you want?" Her four eyes locked on him with blazing intensity. "A test. A challenge worthy of both our species. A battle of will, not just strength." She raised a single finger. "With the entire bar as witness, Derek Cole, I challenge you to claim my throne." The gasps were deafening. Even Derek froze. "What?" Zarala rose again, voice like an ancient storm. "You want to challenge my rule? Then earn it, not by fighting me here. Not by bleeding on my floor, but by surviving the trial that crowns kings and destroys legions." She spread her arms. The crucible of stars. A hush fell. Even the bravest aliens shivered. Derek had heard whispers of it. A place outside normal space. A realm created by an extinct civilization, a test of survival that had claimed thousands of lives. No one returned unchanged. Most did not return at all. Derek's jaw tightened. So you want me to enter a death maze filled with creatures older than your empire? Her smile turned wicked. You wanted to prove humans belong among the strongest in the galaxy. Light pulsed through the cracks in her skin. Now prove it. The bar trembled. Derek stared at her for a long, still moment. Then he lifted his drink again, drained the last sip, and placed the cup on the counter. His voice was calm. I will do it. The room exploded with whispers and gasps. Zarala stood and extended her hand. Then prepare yourself, human. When the next sun rises over Varkos 9, you will enter the Crucible. Derek shook her hand. Her grip was scorching hot, powerful enough to break bones if she desired. And if I survive? He asked. Her smile softened, almost human. If you survive, you will not only claim my throne, you will claim my respect. And the galaxy will learn to fear humans in ways it never imagined. The bar shook with anticipation. Zarala's aura dimmed as she released his hand. Rest now, Derek Cole. Tomorrow, the universe will try to kill you. Derek turned toward the exit. He did not look back. As the doors slid open and cold station air hit his face, he whispered to himself, it will have to try harder. The station lights flickered overhead as Derek stepped out of the fractured fawn, his boots echoing across the metallic walkway. The air outside felt different, colder, thinner, humming with static tension, as if the entire station already whispered the news. A human accepted the crucible of stars. Dock workers stopped mid-task. Pilots frozen in their cockpit ladders stared. Merchants halted holographic transactions. Even the patrolling security drones paused, scanning him with an unusual level of interest. Derek ignored them. His muscles ached. A bruise throbbed under his ribs. His knuckles screamed from the last round of bone-on-bone impacts. But none of that mattered. What mattered was that tomorrow he would face a test made by a civilization so ancient its ruins were older than humanity's first spoken language. A test that devoured entire crews. A test that killed warriors carved from metal. A test that Zarala Vex believed only a human might survive. He reached the lift platform and leaned on the railing. Beyond the transparent barrier, the void stretched like an endless ocean. Stars shimmered in clusters, swirling in nebulae of violet and crimson. A quiet beauty, a deceptive beauty. The universe hid death behind light. Derek exhaled slowly. He needed rest. He needed clarity. He needed to steady the roaring storm in his chest. Not fear, not doubt, but something heavier. Memories. The crucible reminded him too much of the Orion Rift, of the mission that took everything from him. He closed his eyes. Faces flickered through his mind. Comrades who marched beside him. Friends who fought with him on burning worlds. Men and women who died screaming inside collapsing star tombs. The universe did not care, but Derek did, and he refused to let their sacrifices mean nothing. A soft chime broke his thoughts as the lift arrived. He stepped inside. The doors closed, sealing him in metal silence. As the lift ascended toward the station's upper structure, Derek allowed himself a rare moment to breathe without the weight of 1,000 eyes. But peace did not last, because as the lift neared his section, he sensed movement behind him. Not footsteps, not breathing. Something else. Something he recognized immediately. Follow me any slower, and I will think you are trying to look innocent, Derek said without turning. A chuckle sounded from the shadows. Sneaking was never my specialty. A figure stepped into the dim lighting. Tall, lean, wrapped in a flowing cloak made of shifting, colorless fabric. It was Varian Keth, half human, half unknown, one of the few beings in the galaxy Derek trusted. Derek raised an eyebrow. I expected you to be light years away. Varian smirked. Rumors travel faster than warp drive, especially when someone tells the scariest woman in the galaxy to hold his drink. Derek breathed out through his nose. So you watched? I watched enough to confirm you have not lost your edge, though one of those grackle strikes should have shattered half your ribs. It tried. Derek lifted his shirt slightly. A bruise darker than a storm cloud spread across his side. Varian whistled softly. You still do not know how to avoid unnecessary hits. I avoid the fatal ones. The rest I can handle. The lift arrived. The door slid open. They stepped into a dim corridor, quiet and empty except for humming lights overhead. Varian walked beside him, cloak trailing like smoke. The crucible, Varian said at last. You accepted. Derek kept walking. Of course I accepted. Derek. Varian stepped in front of him, blocking the path. You know the truth. No one survives that place by accident. The crucible does not test your strength. It tests your ghosts. Derek's jaw clenched. I know. It tests your fears. I know. It tests your memories. I said I know. A moment of silence passed. Varian's gaze softened. Then you also know why I am here. Derek met his eyes. You want to convince me not to go. I want to convince you that your life has value beyond constant sacrifice. Derek stepped past him, but Varian grabbed his shoulder. The corridor lights flickered. Listen to me, Varian whispered. There are only two beings who ever walked into that crucible and returned walking. Derek stopped. His voice was low. Zarala. And you, Varian said. You, Derek Cole, survived it once before. Barely. Derek stared ahead at the door to his quarters. The metal shimmered in soft amber glow. Warm. Safe. In contrast to the chaos waiting tomorrow. I survived because my team survived, Derek said. Varian shook his head slowly. No. Your team survived because you put yourself between them and the impossible. Derek did not answer. Because he remembered. He remembered the way the crucible twisted space, warping reality like molten glass. He remembered the beasts born from cosmic storms. He remembered the labyrinth of shifting gravity. He remembered the whispers, the ancient voices promising power, pain, knowledge, death. And he remembered the moment the crucible reached inside his mind and pulled his deepest fear into reality. You think I forgot? Derek whispered. Varian lowered his hood. His strange, silver-tinted eyes glowed softly. I think you forgot that you are human. Not a weapon. Not a shield. Not a savior. Human. Derek opened the door to his quarters and stepped inside. The room was small but clean. Bed, desk, a metal trunk, a single window overlooking the starfield. Varian followed. You could leave, Varian said. Slip out before dawn. Take a shuttle. To Sap. No. Derek sat on the edge of the bed, elbows on knees. I gave my word. Varian frowned. To her, to myself. A long silence. The hum of the station filled it. Varian finally exhaled. Then I will help. Derek looked up. What? You face the crucible. But you do not face it alone this time. Derek shook his head. No. The rules are clear. Only one enters. Varian smiled slightly. That is what everyone believes. But I know more about the crucible than Zarala thinks. Derek's eyes narrowed. Explain. Varian moved to the window, hands behind his back. The crucible is not just a death arena. It is a memory engine, a dimensional knot, a remnant of a species that understood the mind better than any living race. Derek leaned forward. Meaning, it amplifies what you bring inside. Your fear, your strength, your rage, your guilt. Varian turned. And your allies. Derek stood. No. Varian, I will not drag you into that nightmare. You think I cannot handle fear? Varian asked softly. You think I do not have ghosts of my own? That is exactly why I will not let you enter. Varian's voice sharpened. And that is exactly why you cannot go alone. Last time you almost lost yourself. This time the crucible will not be so merciful. Derek clenched his fists. Stop. This is my burden. Varian stepped forward until he stood inches away. And I choose to share it. That is what friends do. Derek stared at him, jaw tight. His voice dropped to a raw whisper. Everyone who stands beside me dies. Varian did not blink. Then I will die standing beside you, not watching you fall alone. For a long moment Derek said nothing. His heartbeat echoed in his ears. Memories of fallen comrades filled his chest like cold iron. Then he looked away. You have always been stubborn. Varian's grin returned. It is your bad influence. Before Derek could respond, the door chimed. A messenger drone hovered in. A hologram projected the insignia of Zarala Vex. Her voice thundered through the small room. Human, your trial begins at dawn. Prepare yourself. The crucible hungers. The hologram faded. Derek sat back heavily. Varian placed a hand on his shoulder. We have a few hours. Rest while you can. I will gather what we need. Derek looked up. You want to help me break an ancient death maze? Yes. You know it will try to kill us. Absolutely. You know we might not come back. Varian smiled faintly. Then we leave our ghosts behind and make new ones. Derek exhaled a long breath. A tired laugh escaped. You are insane. So are you, Varian said. That is why we work well together. Derek finally nodded. Fine, but we do this my way. Varian bowed dramatically. As always, Derek lay back on the bed, staring at the metallic ceiling. The crucible awaited, a place older than fear, a place that twisted minds and forged legends. He closed his eyes. Outside the window, the stars pulsed like beating hearts. Inside his chest, a fire began to burn. Tomorrow, the galaxy would learn the same lessons Zarala did. Humans do not bend. They rise. And Derek Cole would rise again. Dawn on Varkos. 9 did not arrive with sunlight. It arrived with alarms, with shuddering metal, with the low-frequency hum of ancient machinery awakening after centuries of silence. Derek Cole opened his eyes. He had barely slept 2 hours, but his mind snapped awake the instant the station trembled. A glowing red sigil burned into the ceiling above him, a holographic brand that every species knew, but few lived long enough to describe. The crucible is ready. Derek swung his legs off the bed. His boots hit the cold floor. His ribs protested. His knuckles throbbed. Good. Pain reminded him he was still alive. Varian stood near the window, fully dressed in a spectral cloak, eyes reflecting a cold silver glow. You feel it? Derek asked. Varian nodded slowly. It is calling. It always calls the ones who survived it. Derek rubbed his jaw. I hoped it would be quieter. It never is. The lights in the room flickered twice. A signal. A summoning. Varian turned toward him. This is it. No turning back. Derek fastened his gear. Boots, belt, gloves, and the reinforced jacket he wore through half a dozen wars. No armor. Armor only slowed you in the crucible. You ready? Derek asked. Varian's smile was thin and humorless. Forward is the only direction that exists. They stepped out into the corridor. Darkness greeted them. Not normal darkness. A thick, suffocating shadow that crawled across the metallic walls like living liquid. Derek inhaled. The air tasted wrong. Like static. Like memory. Like a storm waiting to happen. He whispered, It has already begun. Varian nodded. The crucible does not wait for our feet to reach it. It reaches for us. They walked through the dim hallway, boots echoing. The station had fallen silent. No merchants. No drones. No guards. The entire place felt abandoned. Then a voice rolled through the darkness. Deep, feminine, ancient. Human. Step forward. Zarala appeared at the far end of the hall, descending the staircase like a goddess from a myth. Her aura burned brighter than the lights, casting violet fire along the walls. She wore ceremonial armor, razor-edged plates of obsidian metal, glowing with crimson veins. A cloak made from the scales of a void creature flowed behind her, her 4 eyes fixed on Derek. One by one, she descended the steps and approached. Every footfall thundered. Every breath she took warped the air. When she reached him, she stared into his eyes, all 4 of hers burning with something between respect and hunger. You came, she said softly. I said I would. Zarala's lower eyes darted to Varian, who bowed. You allow another to walk beside you? She asked. He is not entering, Derek said. Varian fought a smile. Zarala smirked. You lie poorly, human. She extended her hand. At her gesture, the metal beneath them split open in a perfect circle. A massive lift platform rose from the floor, ancient black stone intertwined with glowing alien circuitry. The machinery hummed with a frequency Derek felt in his bones. Zarala stepped onto the platform. Both of you. Now. Varian stepped forward first. Derek followed. The platform shook, then began descending into the unknown. As the walls slid upward, revealing deeper levels of the station, Zarala spoke without turning her head. The Crucible is a relic made by a civilization that understood the mind as a weapon. They shaped nightmares. They forged illusions into physical force. They built realms where reality obeyed emotion. The platform dropped faster. The light dimmed. Varian whispered, "She is right. It studies you, learns you, replicates you." Derek stayed silent. Zarala continued, "It will test you in ways no battlefield could. It will drag every memory you buried up into the open. It will amplify your pain, your fear, your guilt." She finally turned toward him, and it will savor every moment. The platform slowed. A circular chamber opened beneath them, massive, ancient, carved with symbols Derek had seen once before and hoped never to see again. The floor glowed with patterns of blue, red, gold, and black, the four colors of the Crucible: fear, memory, strength, madness. Zarala stepped off the platform. The chamber pulsed. Space twisted. Derek felt pressure behind his eyes, like invisible fingers prying his mind open. He clenched his jaw. Varian placed a hand on his arm. "Do not resist. It must read you before it tests you." Derek exhaled. The chamber darkened. A deep roar filled the air, a sound that did not come from lungs or throat or any living creature, a sound made by the universe itself. The floor split open. A vortex of swirling black and gold light appeared. The entrance, the Crucible. Zarala stepped aside. Her voice echoed across the chamber. "Derek Cole, human, veteran, survivor. You enter the Crucible of stars." The vortex flared. You step into a place where time dissolves. It pulsed again, where memory becomes weapon. Louder, where fear becomes flesh. The entire chamber vibrated, and where your soul is laid bare. Derek stared into the swirling void. His heartbeat slowed. His breathing deepened. He remembered the faces of the men and women who followed him into this nightmare years ago. He remembered their screams. He remembered the silence after. Varian whispered, "You do not have to do this." Derek shook his head. "Yes, I do." He stepped toward the vortex. Zarala's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "When you cross that threshold, you will face yourself. And yourself is the deadliest enemy you have ever known." Derek stopped. He looked back at her, and he said the words that would echo through every mind in the room. "Good. I have been waiting for a rematch." Zarala blinked. Then, for the first time since Derek met her, her expression changed. Shock, respect, and something else. Fear. Derek turned back toward the vortex. He stepped inside. Light swallowed him. Cold wrapped around him instantly. Then heat. Then nothing. For a moment, he was nowhere and everywhere. Then a whisper drifted across the void. "Derek, you returned." The voice froze his blood. It was impossible. It was a voice he had buried years ago. "Jackson?" Derek whispered. Silence. Then the vortex spat him out. He hit the ground hard. He opened his eyes. And the world rushing into focus was not a world at all. It was a battlefield. A battlefield he knew. A battlefield he hated. A battlefield where he lost everything. Rain poured from a sky full of burning ships. Explosions thundered like heartbeats. Smoke burned his lungs. He was back at Orion Rift. He staggered to his feet. Gunfire echoed across the ruined valley. Troopers screamed his name. The smell of plasma scorched the air. He clutched his head. No, this is not real. The Crucible whispered in his ear. It was real once, and now it lives again. A figure ran toward him through the smoke. A human soldier, wearing Earth Marine armor, face smeared with blood, eyes wide with fear. "Captain Cole!" the soldier shouted. "They are breaking through the east line. Jackson is hit. He is down." Derek's chest seized. His lungs froze. Not this. Not again. The crucible twisted the world around him, forcing him to relive the moment he failed his men. Varian's warning echoed in his mind. "It tests your ghosts." Derek stared at the battlefield ahead, fists trembling. He whispered, "I will not lose him again." He grabbed a fallen rifle from the mud. He sprinted toward the east line. Explosions shook the ground beneath him. Every memory he ran through stabbed like knives. Every scream echoed like distant thunder. The crucible whispered, "Let's see if you break the same way twice." Derek ran faster. Smoke burned his eyes. Gunfire cracked around him. Shrapnel tore across his shoulder. He barely felt it. He reached the ridge. He climbed the rocks. Rain hammered his face. He reached the top and froze. There, lying in the mud, exactly as Derek remembered, was Jackson, his friend, his brother in arms. The man he could not save. Blood soaked the earth around him. His eyes stared blankly at the burning sky. Derek dropped to his knees. "Jackson, not again." The crucible whispered behind him, "Save him this time. If you can." Derek reached toward Jackson, but Jackson's eyes twitched. He blinked. He breathed. This time he was alive. Derek's heart stopped. This was not memory. This was a chance. A chance the crucible had never given anyone. Derek gripped Jackson's armor and lifted him. "You are not dying today." As he hoisted Jackson onto his back, a new sound filled the battlefield. A deep, rumbling growl that shook the earth. Derek turned slowly. Through the smoke emerged a creature made entirely of shadows and fire. A crucible beast. Huge, deformed, born from Derek's fear. Its voice shook the sky. "You cannot change your past, human, but you can die trying." Derek stood tall, Jackson bleeding on his back, rifle in his hands, eyes burning with determination. "No," Derek said softly. "Humans do not die trying." He stepped forward. "We die fighting." The beast roared. Derek charged, and the crucible of stars unleashed its true form. The battlefield that had once been a fractured fong shimmered with fading sparks, broken lights, and the echo of a fight that would travel across systems as a legend. Smoke rose from shattered tables. Spilled neon fluids coated the floor in glowing rivers. Every alien present stared with fear that was wrapped in awe, wrapped in disbelief, wrapped in something dangerously close to respect. Derek Cole stood at the center of the destruction, breathing slowly, calmly, as if he had just taken a late-night stroll, not faced down a warlord feared by half the galaxy. Zarella Vex rose from the crater her own power had blasted into the floor. Her armor hung in cracked plates. Her obsidian-blue skin glowed with deep fiery fissures. But her eyes, all four of them, were steady, no longer angry, not humiliated, not furious, but awakened. She wiped the glowing dust from her jaw and stepped toward him with a presence that made the air vibrate. "You fought me," she said softly, each word a rumble of ancient storms. "You fought my followers. You survived my power. And you still stand." Derek's breath was steady, his voice calm. "I stand for a reason." Zarella tilted her head. Her aura simmered with electric curiosity. "Then say it, human. Say the truth that brought you here." The remaining bar patrons leaned forward. Tentacles froze mid-sway. Wings eased still. Even the automated turret above the counter paused its searchlight scan. Derek's gaze sharpened as he spoke. "I am tired of the galaxy believing humans are weak. I am tired of hearing that humanity should hide behind larger species. I am tired of watching beings like you rule through fear." He stepped closer to her. Each word had the weight of a world behind it. "We are not weak. We are not prey. We are not the galaxy's forgotten children." He raised his chin. "And I came to remind everyone of that." Silence cracked across the bar. Even the flickering lights seemed to hold their breath. Zarella studied him for a long, quiet moment, her expression unreadable, her aura dimming, her posture shifting. Then she exhaled, a soft, low sound like the release of a superheated engine. "Human," she said. You came here alone with no weapons, no reinforcements, no allies. Her eyes narrowed. But you brought something far more dangerous. Derek gave a faint, tired half-smile. Courage. Zarala's lips curved slightly. No, something older. She touched 2 fingers to her chest, then pointed them at him. You brought a soul that refuses to die. The entire room felt the weight of the words, because in the stories of the outer galaxy, in the myths, the superstitions, the old whispering legends, humans were always described as one thing, unkillable. Zarala stepped closer until they stood just a breath apart. She towered over him, but the air around Derek did not shrink. It expanded. In another life, she said, you and I would have been warriors on the same battlefield, brother and sister in blood and battle. Her voice softened. Perhaps we still can be. Derek's eyebrows lifted slightly. And what would that mean? Zarala took a knee. Gasps broke across the room. Multiple species recoiled in shock. A few fainted outright. Because the scariest alien woman in the spiral arm, the undefeated warlord, the ruler of the Fong, the terror of 3 sectors, did not kneel to anyone, yet she knelt to him. I acknowledge your strength, she said, and I offer you something no human has ever been given. She lowered her head. Alliance. The word struck the room like an asteroid. Derek stared at her, stunned by the sincerity vibrating through the metal floor. You want an alliance with humanity? He asked. Zarala shook her head slowly. No, Derek Cole. I want an alliance with you. She rose again, towering and powerful, but now her aura had shifted. No longer a storm, but a flame, controlled, respectful, alive. You prove humans are worthy of standing beside giants, she said. You prove humans can break fear. You prove humans can face a monster and refuse to flinch. Derek released a slow breath, and for the first time since he had stepped into bar, he felt something unusual. He felt seen. The scars on his arms, the ghost behind his eyes, the weight of wars no one remembered. Suddenly none of it felt lonely. If I accept your alliance, he said softly, what happens then? Zarala's smile revealed sharp, dangerous teeth, but the warmth in her expression made it seem almost gentle. Then Derek, the galaxy will learn a new truth. She turned to the stunned bar patrons and roared. Humans are not prey. Humans are not weak. Humans are not children. Her voice burned through the metal, through the walls, through the asteroid rock of the station. Humans are warriors. A silent beat passed. Then every creature in the bar slowly dropped their head, in respect, in fear, in understanding, because the throne that once belonged to Zarala Vex now belonged to something new, not surrender, not dominance, but alliance, a dangerous one, a powerful one, a legendary one. Zarala extended her arm toward Derek, a gesture of unity, a pact sealed not by politics but by blood. Derek hesitated, not because he feared her, but because he understood the weight of what this alliance meant. If he accepted his life, his destiny, and the fate of humanity in this part of the galaxy would change forever. He imagined Earth. He imagined the soldiers he had fought beside. He imagined the species who saw humans as nothing. Then he imagined the future, one where humans had a seat at the table of power, beside beings like Zarala Vex. A future built on courage. And he made his choice. Derek reached out and gripped her forearm with a warrior's handshake. The bar erupted with energy. Lights flared. The air thrummed like a war drum. Zarala's voice rose again. From this day forward, Derek Cole fights beside me. She turned, pointing toward the stars beyond the cracked window. And together, we will remind the galaxy. Her eyes burned with molten fire. Humans fear nothing. Derek added quietly, especially not a bar fight. A ripple of shocked laughter spread around the room. Then cheers. Loud, powerful, unrestrained. Zarala raised her chin. You enter my bar as a challenger. Her smile softened. You walk out as something far rarer. And what is that? Derek asked. A legend. The barred door hissed open. The cold corridor air swept in like a promise of new battles. Derek looked back once. At the destruction, at the stunned faces, at the alien warlord who now walked beside him instead of against him. He took one final sip of his drink and whispered, "Hold my beer. Looks like the universe is about to get interesting." Zarala chuckled darkly. "You have no idea." Together, they stepped into the glowing corridor. Side by side, warrior and warlord, human and alien, a new era had begun. And in the deep corners of space, where ancient powers stirred, and forgotten enemies sharpened their blades, whispers spread like wildfire. A human had made the scariest alien woman in the galaxy kneel. A human had survived her fire. A human had earned her alliance. And wherever they went next, the universe would tremble, not in fear of Zarala alone, not in fear of Derek alone, but in fear of what they would become together. The veteran looked ahead, pain easing from his shoulders. For the first time in years, he felt something settle in his chest. Purpose, not as a soldier, not as a survivor, but as the human who reminded the galaxy that humanity was unstoppable. Zarala touched the control panel on her arm. A warship unfurled from cloak outside the station window like a metallic beast awakening. "Your seat awaits, Derek Cole," she said proudly. "Co-commander the Fong." He stepped aboard with a slow nod. "Let's go remind the stars who we are." Zarala grinned. "Oh, we will." The ship roared to life. Engines ignited with a thunderous glow. The station trembled. And as they blasted into the void, leaving the ruined bar and stunned witnesses behind, a final whispered truth echoed through the galaxy's dark corridors. Humans had arrived, and the universe would never be the same.